friends. We're here today in Philippians chapter 2. So there's two major points that I want to make in this chapter. One comes from what's known as the kenosis. There's a shorthand for this passage. In theological world, this is very basic theology. This is Theology 101. And it has to do with Christology. That is the study of Christ. And in the study of Christ, there's this idea, like, what exactly is Christ? Is he 50% God and 50% man? Was he man and then he was no longer God when he was man? So this is an interesting question, and we get a lot of insight in this passage because it says that Jesus emptied himself. That's what the word kenosis means. So when you talk to people about the nature of God, you don't have to say, well, it says there in Philippians chapter 2 this. You don't need to say that, because if you say, well, because of the kenosis, and they know exactly that you are talking about Philippians chapter 2. So we know from this, it says that he emptied himself. So it might seem, he emptied himself. That means that Jesus was not God because he emptied himself of his divinity. But that's actually, here, let me adjust something here. But that's actually not what it means. It says that he did empty himself, but it said taking on the likeness of man. Now that means he was fully man, but that he covered up his divinity. He was still completely divine, but he covered up his godness so that he could appear as just 100% man. Now, I think it's interesting too that if you remember, there's a part in, I guess, all the synoptic gospels where Jesus goes up the Mount of Transfiguration, and when he gets there, Peter, James, and John, and they see him, and he's bright white, and he's like brought up in the air, and he's they're saying they can't even look at him. I think it's funny. It says that he became whiter than anything that could ever be bleached. So I think it's interesting that at some point in his ministry, he just kind of like opened up the curtain and showed them, like, this is the real me. I am completely divine, and I've been shielding it from you all along. Now, I think this is very interesting. This whole concept of the kenosis, the nature of Jesus. It's very insightful, but it's not the point of the passage. When we go through this, Paul here is making a point. And the point is that we should not count ourselves as better than other people. We should count other people greater than ourselves. We should humble ourselves. And he said he was bringing up Jesus as the perfect example of what we should be doing. We need to, as Christians, in the same way that Jesus was God, someone who is so far beyond us that he doesn't even need to deal with us at all, but he does. He becomes us, and he doesn't just become us. He dies a very shameful and a very painful death at the hands of humans. And so he's saying, this is something that we should be doing for each other. Sometimes, I don't know why this is what's coming to me, but there's somebody that you feel like you may be cooler than, or someone that annoys you a little bit, but you know that that person needs a friend. You'd be like, I don't want my reputation. I don't want to give up my time. I don't want to give up my status. Just to be a friend to this person, it sounds awful. But you have to remember that Jesus, who was God, became man and then died for you. You need to sacrifice your time. You need to sacrifice your status. You need to sacrifice, your selfish ambition. And you need to not see others. You need to not, try and hang out with the cool people, so that it brings up your status. Think of those that are less than you. So there's a second point that's in this passage, and it's this idea. It says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Now, I'm right next to a town. This is Milford. And if I go walking down the street and I talk to the good people of Milford, and they are good people, it's a nice little town, and I say, hey, are you saved? Are you going to heaven? Most of them will tell me, yes, absolutely. I'm a good person. But they're not really working out their salvation with fear and trembling. I don't think they're working out their salvation at all. They just assume that everybody goes to heaven if they're okay people. The interesting thing about the word salvation is that you're supposed to work out your salvation, which means that there is an impending danger. That the default is that everybody deserves hell, and you need salvation. So Jesus is saying, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And, even if you're a Christian, I don't think God wants you to fear and tremble about it always, but you should work it out with fear and trembling. You should look at yourself and think, am I really saved? So look into the Bible and see what it takes to be saved. Now, I want to make it clear that your salvation doesn't come from doing things. Your salvation comes from your relationship with Christ. So work out that relationship. Anyways, that is Philippians chapter 2. Have a great day. Bye.